My name is Craig Halloran. If you ever take a job on a night shift at a nuclear plant and a tired old operator hands you a card with 5 rows on it, do yourself a favor and don't laugh at him the way I did. Read them, memorize them, because the rows on this card have nothing to do with radiation and everything to do with staying alive until sunrise. I have worked at the same plant for 11 years now. It sits out on its own, a few miles from the nearest town, the way these places always do. A cluster of grey buildings and cooling towers behind 3 layers of fence, lit up so bright at night that from the highway it looks like a small city that never sleeps, and it doesn't sleep. A plant like this runs 24 hours a day, every day and forever, which means somebody has to be there at 3 in the morning watching the birds. For 11 years, a lot of these nights, that somebody was me. The man who trained me on nights was an operator named Dale Kamieniski. Dale had been at the plant since it opened, over 30 years of the night shift, which is almost unheard of because most people can't take that many years of nights. He knew every inch of that facility. He knew the sounds it's made. He knew which doors are stuck and which gauges run a little hot and which hallway lights flickered. And on my last night's training with him, Dale took me down to the break room, bought 2 coffees, and I slid a card across the table, 5 rules typed up, edges worn soft from handling. I read them and I grinned, because I figured this was the initiation, the thing that old guys do to the new guy. But Dale didn't grin back. He just said, 31 years I have worked here. 31 years I have followed every one of those, and I'm the only operator from my training class who's still alive to retire. He tapped the card. The rest of them are why the rules exist. I stopped grinning after that, and over the next 11 years, one by one, I found out he wasn't kidding. Rule 1. If the radiation alarm goes off, Rule 1. If the radiation alarm goes off in corridor C, but the readings are normal, do not investigate, report it, and stay at your station. The plant is full of alarms, radiation monitors on every corridor, every room, constant background readings fed to the control room. 99% of the time, an alarm is faulty sensor, a calibration drift, nothing. So your instinct as an operator is to check it out. You don't want to evacuate the whole plant over a bad sensor. So you go look. Rule 1 carves out one exception, corridor C. About 8 months into the job, I was working the boards overnight when the radiation alarm for corridor C lit up loud. The kind of alarm that gets your heart going, but when I pulled the actual readings, the numbers from the monitor itself, they were all normal, background level, nothing there, just the alarm screaming that there was radiation source in corridor C, while every number said the corridor was clean. My training told me to grab a handheld meter and go check it in person. I was actually up out of my chair when I remembered Rule 1. If the alarm goes off in the corridor C but the readings are normal, do not investigate. So I sat back down and I did the thing that felt insane. I locked the alarm. I locked the alarm, reported to the shift supervisor over the radio, and I stayed at my station with an alarm shrieked about invisible radiation 100 feet away. The alarm rang for exactly 19 minutes, and then it stopped on its own. And here's the part that put ice on my stomach. About a minute after it stopped, the corridor camera for C, which I had up on my monitor the whole time, showed the far door at the end of the corridor slowly swinging shut. A heavy security door that stays latched, that takes a keycard to open. It swung shut like someone had walked through it, and there was no one on that camera. The corridor had been empty the entire 19 minutes, had been staring at it. I asked Dale about it the next night. He didn't even look up from his coffee. Corridor C alarm always goes off every few months. He said always clean readings. Somebody always used to go to check it. He finally looked at me. You know how many operators we have lost in the corridor C over the years? Guys who went to investigate a clean alarm? He held up 3 fingers, went in, never came back out. Plant's official story is industrial accidents. I have been here for 30 years. I know better. You do not go into corridor C when it calls you. It's trying to get you to come. Rule 2. The sub-basement has a phone. If it rings, do not go down to answer it. Every plant has levels below levels. The sub-basement is the lowest. Pumps, pipes, cool systems, the guts of the place. You go down there when there is a maintenance flags something and not otherwise. It's the last place anybody wants to be at night, and down there, mounted on the wall, there is an old phone, an internal line decades old, the kind with a cord. Officially it's for emergency communication if the radio fails. Rule 2 is simple. If the phone rings, you leave it. I made it almost 4 years before it rang. I was at the control boards late when one of the internal lines lit up and the display showed the extension for the sub-basement. Someone or something was calling the control room from the phone in the sub-basement, a part of the plant that was locked, that nobody was scheduled to be in, and I knew for a fact it was empty. Now, rule 2 is about not going down to answer the sub-basement phone, but this was a reverse. It was calling up to me, and I made the judgment. Rule 2 was about that phone in any direction, and it was not going to engage with it, so I did not pick up. The line rang, then it stopped. Then every internal line on the board lit up at once, every extension in the plant ringing, the whole board a wall of blinking lights. All of them originating, according to the display, from that one dead phone in the empty sub-basement. I sat there, and I did not touch a single one, and then, all at once, they went dark. The next morning, I asked a maintenance guy to check the sub-basement phone. He came back looking strange. The phone, he said, wasn't connected to anything. The line had been dead for years, physically disconnected, the wiring built during renovation. It could not have called anything. It hadn't been able to ring our dial for a decade. Dale, when I told him, didn't even seem surprised the maintenance guy had touched it. He said as long as he didn't answer it, that he's fine. There was a woman, an operator named Sandra, went down to the sub-basement to answer that phone one night, radioed up that was ringing and she was going to get it. We heard her pick it over the radio. We heard her say hello. Then we heard her start walking deeper, away from the phone, further into the sub-basement, still on the radio, saying she was following the voice, that it wanted to show her something. We sent a team down there, but the phone was off the hook, swinging, no Sandra. That phone has been disconnected ever since, and it still rings. Don't ever go down to answer it, and don't answer it when it comes up to you either. Sounds like you already know that. Rule 3. At exactly 4 in the morning, the whole plant will go silent for 1 minute. Do not speak, do not move, and do not let it know you noticed. This is the last rule, and it's one they'll spend the most time on. He told me the first rules were about things that want to come to them. The alarm, the drill, the figure, the phone, all of them are lures. You just have to not take the bait. Rule 3, he said, is different. Rule 3 is about the one time each night that something comes looking for you. A nuclear plant is never quiet, ever. There is a constant sound to the place. The hum of the turbines, the flow of the coolant, the drone of 1,000 systems running. You stop hearing it, the way you stop hearing your own house. It's the sound of the plants being alive. It never stops, except at 4 in the morning, once a night, for exactly 1 minute. The first time it happened, it woke me up out of that half trance you fall into on a long shift, because the silence was so total, it was like going deaf. Every sound in the plant, the hum, the flow, the drones, all of it just stopped, with dead silence. The kind you never hear in a working industrial facility, the kind that shouldn't be physically possible while the plant is still running. Because the birds all showed everything normal, everything operating, making no sound at all. And into that silence, I heard the thing that Rule 3 is about: footsteps, slow and heavy, unhurried, coming down the corridor toward the control room. And a sound with them, a slow, dragging, sniffing sound, something walking the halls of the silent plant and breathing and smelling the air, looking for something, looking for someone to notice it. I froze. I didn't move a muscle. I made my breathing shallow and silent. The footsteps came right up to the control door and stopped, and I felt it on the other side of that door. Something standing there, breathing, that slow wet sniffing inches away through the metal. Something smelling for me. I kept my eyes forward. I did not turn my head toward the door. I sat like a statue, and I thought about nothing, and I did not let one flicker of awareness show on my face, because somehow I knew, the way you know things down in the animal part of your brain, that if it realized I was awake, if it knew that I knew it was there, the door was going to open.